Welcome to Uncomfortable Growth Uncut, where we celebrate those who defy fear, embrace growth, and live without regret. In this episode, we peel back the layers to reveal the person behind the profile with Mark Coad. Known as Cody among friends, his career is a testament to what it means to embrace uncomfortable growth. From the sudden responsibility of running a media agency, to stepping up as the CEO of a national agency, to parenting challenges, Mark's narrative is filled with moments of self-doubt, reflection, and the inevitable question, am I good enough? So welcome everyone. Today we're here with the infamous Mark Coad. Mark Coad is currently the CEO of IPG Mediabrands Australia, New Zealand. But more than that, he's a great guy, someone I've known for many decades, both as someone I've worked with across the media industry, but also as a friend. So I hope I can call you a friend, Cody.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ro. Infamous. That sounds ominous. It's been a long time, hasn't it? It'd have to
It
be.
has.
It'd be. I'm shocking with years. It'd be close to 20 years.
Yeah, no, it would be because
Hmm.
it would be early 2000s, I think.
I reckon the early late 2000s, maybe 7, 8. I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, somewhere around there. So it's
around there. There you go.
when we count in decades, we know it's been some time.
I know that's where it gets spooky.
So, Cody, as he's lovingly known to all of his friends, has some incredible experiences. But I'm going to throw over to you, Cody, to share your chosen uncomfortable growth experience, to give us a bit of background and, yeah, help us understand how you've navigated the challenges of uncomfortable growth.
Yeah, thanks, Rowena. I thought about this. I've actually got a couple, so you can choose your journey almost here. I mean, one's sort of career focused, one's parenting focused. But even reflecting on it, I guess I've been blessed in a way because I can't recall a sort of really jarring, defining, massive change, confrontation, confronting me.
Mm.
And so, I mean, is that a curse or a blessing? I mean, it's possibly a curse because there's some probably development things you could pull out of
Uh,
some
I
major
think it's
traumas like
both.
that.
And
But
also, we never
yeah,
know when those big curveballs are coming. So I'd be counting it as a good thing, Cody.
a blessing. So yeah, I had a couple in mind, but I mean, from a career point of view, the biggest change. I mean, there's probably two minor ones that kind of a similar message come from, and they both got to do with sort of significant promotion in my career. I mean, one of them was the first time I ran a media agency and how that came about, and it was quite jarring at the time, and forced a lot of reflection and consideration. And the
Mm.
second one was in a similar vein when I first got a job as a CEO of a national agency, which was where we first met. It was OMD in the
Mm-hmm.
2007-ish, 8 thereabouts when we first started.
Mm.
Um, and both of those times, you go into those, and people don't see this of you, and you know they can be jarring, and they can also be quite intimidating. But
Mm.
you
Mm-hmm.
don't talk about that. You often see leaders who it seems to come so easy. It's a
Yeah.
no-brainer. But I can assure you it doesn't.
It's
Yeah,
probably reassuring for everyone else out there.
yeah, it is
Yeah,
because well,
like,
I hope it is because you do go through. Am I good enough? Am I worthy?
yeah,
Am I going to be able to
yeah,
do this?
yeah.
And the big piece for me when I think through that is, and people who know me, hear me talk about this, is the legacy piece. Can I actually make a
Mm.
difference when I go into these roles?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it is a big cause for reflection and
Mm.
a little bit of self-doubt, and you need to kind of find your footing when that happens, and,
Mm.
and be really assured of yourself, because to some of the narrative that you're going through, you need to overcome some of those fears in order to grow.
Mm. Yeah,
And
absolutely. So
yeah.
what was the specific, I guess, scenario around it, or where was the business at the time? Kind of what role were you going from to?
So they're probably different. The first time I ran a media agency was I was one of two um, supports to an MD to an agency in Melbourne. It was the early original versions of what's now Wavemaker. Before that, it was MEC, the Media Read.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we found ourselves in a position where the MD of the day left the business quite abruptly to set up
Mm,
his own thing and took a bunch of clients with him and
mm,
kind of left it in a place that was pretty unstable and
mm,
almost non-existent.
mm,
And I remember so I was approached to do you want to take this on? And it was quite intimidating. And the thing
mm,
I learned from it was the people that were there at the time, we had some long conversations like, do we want to do this?
mm,
Are we up for this? Because it wasn't just about me.
mm,
At the time, and media agencies have always been like this. Um, there's always alternative opportunities. I mean,
mm,
there tends to
mm-hmm.
be more roles than people
Yeah.
generally.
Yeah.
So we could have got on the phones and we could have hit the lifeboats,
Yep. Yep.
uh,
Yep.
and we could have
Ring around and
yeah,
find
and
another
yep,
opportunity.
and we all could have found new jobs by Monday.
Yeah.
Um, but we had a conversation. I'll never forget this, and we spoke about whether we're up for this. Are we going to have a
Yeah.
crack at this?
Yeah.
And it really galvanised that bunch of people. There was only a handful of them, and we
Mm,
still catch up to this day. Like the people that we did this with it, and that was the first time I actually ran a media agency, and it was. Like I said, it sounds like a no-brainer promotion. Yeah, well done, you.
yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
But what you go through to get there and
Yeah.
overcome some of the uncertainty to take that on
Yeah.
um, is quite, on reflection, it's quite defining. Like
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
that make,
Absolutely. Because I guess,
yeah,
well, it sounds like there's two things going on in what you're sharing. One is the business was really challenged
yep,
because, I'm assuming the big clients and, also reputationally, people would have known in market. So it's like, okay, this is going to be a hard job.
yep,
And
yep,
also doing it for the first time and
hmm,
backing yourself,
yeah,
having the
absolutely.
courage to back yourself.
And it's also where the legacy thing comes into me. It's not necessarily a fear. I don't look at that as in, this is my reputation. What's it going
Mm,
to do with this? I don't really see it that way. It's more
mm,
around, um, can we actually do something? Can we leave it in a better place than we found it?
mm,
And that's important. It's always been important to me. Again, the people who know me have heard me say that probably more than once.
mm,
That was what we went through. Are we actually
mm.
capable of taking this to where it needs to go,
Yeah.
or not? Um, and I guess the message in that is anyone who's faced with those types of challenges or career opportunities, you will go through self-doubt. You will wonder whether you're up for it. You will wonder whether you've got the skills to do it. Um,
Yeah.
but you'll surprise yourself as well.
Yeah. And in that scenario, were there bumps along the way? Like you talk about a really great conversation at the start, which
Yep,
is putting the elephant on the table. We can all get other
yep,
jobs, so we don't need
yep.
to do this. Do we choose to do this? So that was a great start. But were there bumps along the way?
There were further bumps in the success of the business, massive ones actually. More to do with commercial success and client success. In terms of the people in the team, we stuck pretty fast. Like
Yeah.
and as I said, we still talk to this day. Like I can't recall. It was a little while ago now, but I can't recall anyone hitting the fire exit and thinking this is
Yeah.
too hard. But no, we hit some huge hurdles. We had a major retailer who went bankrupt and left a lot of money, a big debt with the company.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
That
that
that would have
hurt.
been painful.
Yeah, yes. And what was the other one? Oh, the other one was there continued to be client fallout as a result of the disruption of the other guys leaving at the time,
Mm,
and clients who were still in the transition to go to those people, and they always, on
mm.
reflection, they always were. They just did it on their own timing. So
Right.
probably led us along a little bit. In fact, I'll never forget this. One of them called me on Christmas Eve to tell me, and I've never forgotten it. I won't name them, but literally rang me on Christmas Eve to say that we won't be renewing terms and we'll be moving across in January, and I was filthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
More filthy. I mean, look, they're always going to leave on reflection. More filthy at the approach. And I remember
Yeah.
saying to this person, you've left this, haven't you? You've delayed this, and you've left it on your list of things to do before you go home for Christmas, and you've finally gotten around to it on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you kindly.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's quite I've also found too that at those, pivotal moments where you're like, okay, are we all in? Are we going to do this? Because the challenge is such that you can't do it on your own.
no, no, and nor should you try to. I mean, I
Yeah.
said earlier there were two scenarios. The other one was when I got the first opportunity to run OMD nationally.
Uh-huh.
And that's when I mean, I'd already been working with Lee and Hawes, but both of those, Lee Terry and Peter Horgan, both are well known, I'm assuming, to your audience. And yeah, I went into that very much with that attitude. I'm not doing this alone. I can't do it alone. Like,
Mm, mm.
we're all doing this. And we all did.
It's that shared accountability. Are we in? What's the term I've heard you use a number of times is no one's blinking.
Yeah, don't blink.
No blinking. We're in.
Yeah. So yeah, no, and I mean that's when it works, 100%. I mean, and you see leaders who are like this. You see some who would do
Uh-huh.
try and do it on their own,
Uh-huh.
and you can also see them kind of buckling under the weight of that as well.
Yeah. I think that's
More
such
often than
a
not.
interesting observation because once when you're at a certain level, you can have success by taking an overt leadership role. So if you think like mid-level, mid-management level, upper mid-management, I see a lot of leaders who are very directorial and they're often very good and knowledgeable.
Yeah.
But once you shift to that next level, you can't possibly control things.
No.
And you also don't know. There's no way anyone can know everything end to end these days. I often talk about, when I started in marketing, pretty much you could know end to end. If you'd been done your decade, you pretty much did know because it didn't change that much. But today, with all of the technology and digital and AI, like no one knows end to end. So,
No. No.
it's
And it changes I mean, certainly for me, it's changed my definition of success because
mm,
um, what changes the hierarchy because it used
mm,
to be you used to be trying to fuel your own success.
mm,
The key to your own success is doing all you can to help the people around you succeed.
mm,
And I really admire that in leaders. People who are trying to raise the tide, the whole tide. And
yeah,
if the people around them are motivated, challenged, happy, succeeding, then
yeah,
by virtue of that, you are.
yeah,
That's it's the hierarchy. You seldom see it work the other way around, where people
yeah,
use their team to drive their own success.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
such an important skill too, because often in the mid levels, you get promoted for doing a great job on the bit you control.
Yes.
But again, once you've got people and multiple people and then teams working for you, you can't control things. You need to empower them, remove barriers, and basically, like you said, if they succeed, then you succeed.
And you need to equip yourself with new skills to do that too, because the
Yeah.
skills that got you there aren't the ones you use anymore. I mean, there's such truth in that. And again, thinking about this through the topic of growth, um, yeah, I'm only doing this because I used to plan and buy media, and someone must have thought I knew what I was doing. But I don't do that. I rely on a completely different set of skills now, and skills I've had to
Yeah.
pick up along the way.
Yeah. So was that challenging? Like, did you find challenges? Because often they're not necessarily overtly identified. Here are the completely different skills that you need to now develop at this level. So
No, it wasn't in the brochure.
yeah, exactly.
No, but it's true, and I think the people who are able to, well, it goes back to what we were saying before. People who equip
Mm,
themselves with the skills, once you're
mm,
building or leading or managing teams, to bring the whole team along with them,
mm.
they'll succeed. They'll prosper.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Mm.
So what are the skills that you would prioritize in terms of, you know, what you just talked about? You're in one of the biggest jobs in Australia, New Zealand. You've got, you know, 1,000 people or so within Mediabrands Australia,
Yeah.
possibly more. So
Mm.
what are those skills that you would encourage people to think about as they're also stepping up?
Um, the biggest overarching one for me is uh, a level of self-awareness. You need to know what you're putting out there, and once I understood that, I look for it now in people when I, you know,
Mm,
either the leaders I work with or the leaders I work next to or the ones I see, you know, do they know what they're putting out there? Do they and do they understand the impact they have on the people around them? And good, that's probably, if I was going to give you an overarching skill,
mm-hmm,
that's
mm-hmm,
the piece for me. And I think that anyone who can master that,
mm,
the you know, some of the other stuff will fall into place. But if you have that level of awareness and spatial awareness as to what's happening around you, what the impact you can have on the people around you, positively
mm,
or negatively, it'll serve you very well.
I love that. It's
Mm.
like the ripple effect, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. And there is one. Um, yeah, massively. And I think, you know, we're doing it every day. I mean, when I
Yeah.
walk down the hallway, and you know, I've said this before too. I say this a lot in mentoring sessions. Apologies for the people who have heard these stories. Um, but when we were planning buying media, when we're on the factory floor, we
Uh-huh.
made it our business to know what our leaders were doing. Like, you know, we watch them like hawks, and
Mm-hmm.
that happens to us now. I know this. I can't walk down the hallway without someone thinking something about,
Mm-hmm.
and it's true of any leader. That's not an ego thing about me. Please don't misinterpret. But um, so you need to be, you know, not always on, but you need to be aware of what you're putting in.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not just walking down the hall. People will interpret different things. And if you can do it
Well, if I
consciously,
happen to brush past someone because I'm in a hurry because I'm late for my next meeting,
yeah.
you know, that person could easily think he didn't even have time to stop. He doesn't want to
Yeah.
talk to me. You know, like
Yeah.
it's just having that spatial awareness to understand that you in roles like these you do have the capacity to have influence over people. You need to know what that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
No, I love that. So you
Mm.
also talked about a second one, which sounds very interesting, which is a parenting
No,
comfortable growth moment. So now I'm really listening.
my son's going to kill me. So I was just thinking about the challenges, you know, thinking about the chat, just the uncomfortable sort of challenges you go through.
Mm, mm,
And I mean, I'm blessed with two very well-adjusted, sensible kids. I'm extremely grateful for that. But my son Sam, he did year 12 in COVID,
mhm,
and which was tough. You know, no valedictory, no playing for school sport, none of that stuff
mm,
in the
mhm.
very locked down Melbourne. So when he finished, he took off to Central Queensland and he worked on a 2 million acre, 20,000 head of cattle
Oh,
property.
wow. Yeah.
And he did it for a year as a sort of gap year. You know, the travel wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Um, Doing more learning on screens at university he had no appetite for that whatsoever. So he did that for 1 year, and then he said, "I'm going back for 2 years." And then halfway through the second year, he's like, "This is what I want to do. I'm this. I want to do this." And and we were like, "No, mate, you got to like you got to come back and, you know, make the most of your
Education and
you know, your education, and, you know, you're a smart kid, and, you know, this is what you want to do. You know, work out how you're going to run one of these places one day if that's what you want to do, because at the moment you're kind of just a labourer with a horse and a motorbike." And and uh, and it really tested my parenting skills. Like, I found
Mm,
it so hard, and it was the first time. Maybe it was a bit late in the piece. The first time I realised that as a parent, there's no manual. You know, there's
yeah.
no.
Mhm.
And you know, I've got Sam saying, "Well, you know, you're going to ruin my dream. This is what I want to do." And we're sitting at home going, "Yeah, but, you know, we paid a lot of money for an education, and, you know, you've got
Oh,
some nice, decent scores. You know, maybe you should make the most of that." And that was a long process. That was like a 3 month
mm,
process where we eventually got him into university, and he's loving it, and he's thriving, and he's
Mm-hmm.
back working on properties and doing what he loves. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking through some of the topics to cover about going through that uncomfortable. I have
Mm.
no idea what I'm doing. That as a parent, I found that really challenging.
Mm. Yeah, I
Mm.
can relate. Also, I mean, my kids are a bit younger than yours. They're 18 and 15. Um, but yeah, like it's like, and where do you draw the line? Because as a parent, you're like, okay, I know that if you do a couple of years at university, it's going to set you up, it's going to help you get ahead for the
Yeah,
rest of your life, no matter what you choose to do. But even if you decide one day that you don't want to be running a property, it will set you up for other things, but then they are
yeah,
adults,
and I suppose the challenge of imposing
mm,
your will
mm,
on at the end of the day, it's his life. He can do
yeah,
what he wants with it, but
yeah,
it, it
yeah.
it's I found that really hard to navigate.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And
Mm.
also, like I always look back at my 18-year-old self and I was so sure in my mind.
So you were
And it's
so.
only now I'm like, I had no idea.
Oh no, no, that was same. I was same. I started my career. I'd done my degree. I had no idea what I wanted to do.
You
Just
know.
meandering, meandering through.
Yeah, or you're like, no, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to give this a go. And you think sometimes you have the answers, but you don't have the experience. And I find that with working with young people, what I love about young people are they're so smart and they're
Mm.
so quick and they're so talented. But experience is also something you can't fast forward. It's the one thing you just
No,
can't fast
no,
forward. You can be smarter and get through more degrees or more textbooks or whatever it is, but you
yeah,
just can't fast forward 20 years of experience. You
no. It's
have
so
to
true.
live through it.
Yeah, it's so true. And it doesn't have to be for 20 years, but you have to
Yeah.
know what it's like to apply that knowledge and face the challenges that are invariably going to present themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
You
how did that unfold? Like was it just lots of conversations over time with Sam or
um it was a it was a multi-month negotiation. Um, he will kill me when I say this. He eventually did. He's now studying agriculture. He's doing a bachelor of business, majoring in ag.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but he didn't like the first couple of months at
Mm,
all. It took him a while to sort of adjust and find his groove and get into that. Uh,
mm,
but no, he's successfully done first year, and he's now back out in the field, driving
yep.
big tractors and doing his thing. But so it ended well, and I think
Yeah.
I'd like to think he'll look back and appreciate the where we got to on that.
Yeah.
I'm sure he does actually, because we talk about it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. There is an element to, I think, like where do you draw the line in terms of nurturing tough love? Like I look back at my own dad and my sister will kill me for telling this story. But she'd finished the HSC, but she really didn't know what she wanted to do and she didn't want to go to university and she's like, oh, I'll just do my part-time job at the local chemist, just the job you do for money. And my dad like took tough love. And even to this day, I look back and go, it's so impressive. He said to her, no, you're not just going to laze around. If you don't know what you're going to do, you're going to enroll in like a secretarial college back in the day when the women were all secretaries. And he made her pay for it. He made her go and get a personal loan, which he
yeah,
went guarantor for, but she had to pay it back. And it wasn't insignificant either. Because he said,
that's
no, I'm not just going to pay for you to go.
that
You
says
you have to earn it.
yeah, and that goes back to, I mean, there's a couple of things. One is there's a difference in generations. I mean, I
Yeah.
was the same. I didn't get to negotiate with my dad, but 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 it's also that we touched on this earlier. It's that self-assured piece. Like, was your dad so self-assured and knew what had to happen,
Yeah.
or not? Because I'm sure underneath he was pedaling like mad
Oh,
internally, grappling with it.
absolutely. And we've spoken about it since. And
Yeah,
my sister is like, Dad, I can't believe you made me do that.
yeah.
And I had
And
to pay for it. And I was only earning like $5 an hour.
and he'll probably concede that he wasn't certain himself that that was the right thing to do.
Yeah,
He was just,
yeah.
like I said before, there's no manual, there's
No,
no
there's not.
wrong,
There's
that he
not.
probably,
And
yeah,
it is. It's tricky. So I think, that's one of the big highlights around uncomfortable growth is you don't know.
no,
You're
no,
stepping into these situations, these contexts, these scenarios, and you don't know, but you lean into it because you believe it's the right thing to do.
and to your point, the only way to grow is to understand that you're not going to know all the answers. Like you're just
Mhm.
not. And I think I think I tried to suggest this earlier or say this earlier that you look at people around you that seem so self-assured, whether it's your dad,
Mhm.
whether it's other leaders,
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
not. Like
yeah.
they're not. They're churning inside, going, "Am I doing the right thing? Is this going to work?" All the stuff they're trying to process. But so yeah, whatever sort of growth you're faced with or opportunity
Mhm.
you're faced with, don't sit around waiting for all the answers because they're never going to come. You're going to
Yeah.
have to get in there and find out.
That's so true. That's
Yeah.
so true. And even if it doesn't go to plan, I think you learn so much about, well, not just what didn't work, but about yourself because
Mhm.
the intent or necessarily the action wasn't wrong. It just so happens that you can't control all outcomes. So,
No,
sometimes things don't go to plan. Maybe you had the team going, yes, we're going to really give it our best to, turn around this agency, but maybe it doesn't happen. That doesn't mean taking action and stepping into that discomfort was wrong.
no, no. And again, to sort of tie some of this together, when things don't go right, it goes back to how you roll, how you're conducting yourself to continue to motivate and inspire some sort of confidence that we might have hit a pothole, but we're on track.
Yeah.
Now, I've got another story. Again, people are going to laugh at this because they've heard these stories. It's like when things don't go to plan, right? There's someone that I have a lot of respect for. He'll probably know if he listens to this, he'll know that I'm referring to him when I tell this story. But the one of my favourite parallels is when I get on an aeroplane, and when sometimes you walk on the door and you look left, and sometimes the cockpit doors open.
Yeah.
And when you get on that plane, what you want to see is a couple of pilots just sitting there comfortably,
Yeah.
playing with a few knobs and dials, sipping their
Yeah.
coffee, and you're going to calmly walk down your seat. You don't want to see a couple of pilots freaking out, flipping through the manual, going, "Holy shit, I haven't flown one of these for a while."
So
But
true.
because it unsettles the whole plane, right? And my point is, going back to you need to understand the influence you're having on the people
Mhm.
around you. Like we
Mhm.
can all freak out when things don't go right. Just know when your cabin door's open and when it's closed.
That's such a good metaphor.
It goes back to know what you're putting out there. And if
Yeah, yeah,
pilots who want a calm aircraft are
yeah,
going to know when their door's open or not and what they're putting out there.
yeah. And even if you don't know what the outcome's going to be, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean it won't turn out in a positive way either. Like I love
No.
the examples of both, work and life,
Yeah.
with the job and Sam, because you don't know, but there's a good chance that it will work out, particularly if you've got really talented people around you or you're able to have the right conversations and there's every chance that you can deliver the outcome that you're looking for.
And have faith in your ability and the ability of the people around you. That,
Mm.
like I said, you'll hit a few snags along the way,
A
but
few potholes.
a few potholes. But yeah, just have some faith that you're going to get there.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. So I've got
Mm.
a few questions for you at the end that I'm just going to quick fire at you. So
Shoot.
the first one is, what are three things you've learned about yourself in recent years?
Um, One of them we've kind of touched on, which is there are going to be times of doubt,
Yeah.
and you need to punch through that. You need to, and I'm not saying internalize them, just understand that I've understood everyone's got them. I've got them.
Mm.
Everyone's despite what it looks like. So, you just got to, I've learned that you're always going to have that.
Yeah.
Another thing I've learned is, uh, and I think I've been, whether I've been blessed with this or whether it's something I've inadvertently worked on, I don't know. But I think I have a level of resilience that served me well.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot to knock me off my footing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not to say I don't get knocked off my footing. I think I do, but I have the capacity to sort of roll with some punches and
Yeah.
keep a fairly level head.
Yeah. It's like that punching bag, the one that topples, it comes
It
back.
just keeps bouncing up. Yeah, but I mean, yeah. So I think that served me well. Um, the other thing is, if you want a third one, um, and things, and when you go into something, whether it's a challenge or a tough conversation it never plays out as badly as you've rehearsed it in your head. It never does.
So true.
So, if you've got something confronting you that has to be dealt with, or an opportunity that you're grappling with,
Yeah.
however you've played it through in your mind, it never ever turns out that badly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good one. Yeah.
Mm.
I love there's a technique that Tim Ferriss uses, and he's got a TED talk on it called fear setting. And what's really great about that is he basically goes through these questions to say, what's the worst thing that could happen? And,
Yeah.
how can I minimize this? Or how can, what can I do to reconcile in my own head what's reasonable rather than what may be elevated because of my fear?
Yes. And your mind's always going to take you to the worst possible outcome.
Exactly.
I don't know. Mine sometimes does, but when you do it, it's never as bad as you. Again, whether it's I mean, we do it every day. Whether it's a tough conversation, whether
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
need to, make a tough call on someone's employment, whether you need
Yeah.
to, whatever.
Yep, that phone call on Christmas Eve. We're not
Yeah,
continuing with you.
exactly. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. You sit around for 3 months dreading the result of a client pitch, and you get the worst possible news.
Mm,
It's not the end of the world.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what can you take from it?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
great points. Okay, next question.
Yep.
What's important to you at the moment in your life?
Um, I'm, I am getting to a point where, and I'm not, I don't think I'm close, but I find myself thinking about this more than any other time in my career or in my life what's the next part of my career journey going to look like?
Hmm.
I mean, it's been fairly linear for a long time. I've taken a role here, I've done that, I've done that, I've done it. But, I'm going to get to a point where what's it going to look like? And how long am I going to do it for?
Mm, yeah.
And I've still got a lot I want to achieve. I'm nowhere near the end, but I'm closer to the end than the start of my career.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's that going to look like? Am I going to consult? Am I going to do some
Hmm.
board roles? Am I going to? I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. But I get to a point where I don't feel I need to start working that out, but it's starting to roll around in my mind.
Yeah.
What's the next chapter going to look like? And
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that's going to start this year, next year, or even the year after. But
Yep.
who
Yep.
knows? It might be forced upon me one time. I mean, it's a pretty young industry,
Yeah.
so yeah, that
Yeah.
might be my call one day.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a really honest
Yeah,
perspective because like I know so many people kind of over beyond midlife,
mm.
so maybe
Yeah,
around their late 40s, 50s, 60s, who are all asking that question. And I think it's
yeah,
such an important question, knowing that it's likely we'll be living the average life expectancy will probably be around 90 for my age, and I'm
yeah,
50,
yeah,
51.
yeah,
Um, and then it'll keep going up. So when you look at it like that, I'm like, if I'm 51 and I could live easily to 90,
yeah.
I'm only just over halfway.
I know, exactly. Exactly. Well, like I said, I don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. But you do,
Yeah,
your mind starts to think about things like that. Definitely.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No, I think
definitely.
that's really, really important. Okay,
Yep.
and last quick fire question. What's a
Yep.
current fear, a current inspiration, and a current challenge at the moment? So
Ooh.
fear, inspiration, challenge.
Um, I suppose I don't really put it in the fear bracket. There's not much that kind of keeps me awake from a fear point
Mm-hmm.
of view, but what the next 5 to 10 years of my career, what I just touched on, I'd probably
Yeah.
put that in that bracket. I mean, it's
Yep.
not fear, but there is
Yeah.
some change in there that you need to start thinking about.
Yep.
So I'd probably say that. Um, what was the second one? Inspiration.
Inspiration.
Um, the thing I get the most inspiration. This will sound a bit naff. I hope it doesn't. But the thing I get the most inspiration out of it at the moment is seeing other people and their careers starting to flourish and them take on challenges.
Mm,
And I don't take credit, but if I've even played a tiny role in that,
mm.
that's an enormous source of pride and inspiration for me.
Yeah. Beautiful. And last one is challenge.
Challenge. Mm.
Challenge for you at the moment. Now that you know your son's in university and
Yeah, no, I sorted that one out. What's the challenge? There's probably a couple that come to mind. One is the I heard someone talk last week, and it really struck a chord with me. We're all sitting here at the moment, working our bums off, almost holding our breath, going, "God, I can't wait for it to get back to how, or normal." It's not coming. Like, we're doing it. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
not. We're not going back to any form of normal. Like, there's a pace and a cadence and an energy required,
Mm-hmm.
and we need to be more adaptive. We need to be more nimble. We need to be more so than we've ever been. And I sense that this period just feels a bit like that. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we need to remind ourselves that, challenge ourselves that, this takes a different mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't be, um, I can't wait till we get back to normal, because
Yeah. This
that's not
is
going to,
normal.
yeah, that's not going to happen.
That's the past. This today is normal.
Yeah. And that's a challenge. I mean, I find that a challenge. It's probably a challenge for most people.
Yeah, I
Mm.
definitely think so. And
Yeah.
things feel and are getting faster and faster.
Yeah, they are. And it's getting more hectic, and we need to
Mm-hmm.
understand more. I mean, even just thinking about the number of things I need to be across, and again, people who know me will know that I'm no control freak. I don't need to know. I don't make it my business to know everything,
Mm-hmm.
but just the stuff I need to be across now
Mm.
is dramatically bigger than it was even 5 years ago.
Yep. Yep.
And I think that's not just me and this role. I think that's the same of anyone.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, no matter what they're doing, I just think they need the mental bandwidth required now and the energy required now. I think is greater than it's ever been,
Yeah.
and I think it's going to get greater.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. And it's going to take different solutions, different models to sustain that.
Yeah, as I touched on it before, a different mindset. Like, we
Mm.
need to run at it, not run away from it.
Mm. Absolutely. Well, this
Mm.
has been brilliant, Cody. I've so enjoyed our chat.
Oh, well, I hope so.
It was great. It was great. So thank you so much. And I'll look forward to talking with you again soon.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
If you are inspired but thinking, I can't do that, then you are so wrong. Anyone can learn the art of uncomfortable growth with the help of my flagship program, Uncomfortable Growth, Own Your Reinvention. In this, you will learn to navigate your own internal contradictions to finally unlock the courage and commitment to live a deeply meaningful life by design and on your terms. Uncomfortable growth is about the struggle and joy in discovering who you are, what you truly want, and how to make it happen. If this is something you are ready for, then find out more at www.rowenamillward.com. What have you got to lose, or more importantly, gain?